Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Quant Network, aka Q&T. So let's just dive in and let's talk about a few things. So, I just want to warn you guys a little bit ahead of time. Yes, I'm recording this video ahead of time as well. It is being scheduled for later. Yes, I'm still traveling, so I do apologize. I will be getting back into like a real-time schedule soon, so please bear with me. But on the 7-day span and on the 24-hour span, we are seeing, Quant up massively, up almost 60% on the 7-day span. And, should you ape in right now? No. Do not FOMO in to Quant or Q&T. At the current moment in time. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, Nick, what are you talking about? Like, right now is the perfect time to buy. No. I will never tell you guys to buy something that's up 60% on the 7-day span or even up 12% on the 24-hour span. And I keep seeing a lot of you say, like, is the $30 to $40 range still possible? It's possible. Anything is possible in this space. But let's actually analyze the chart. So, at the current moment in time that I am making this, we are still at resistance. Remember yesterday where I told you guys that if we can break over this 84-cent, fib level, and I know that we're kind of peaking above it slightly, guys gotta remember that like my fib level, I don't think that it's on the exact price point. So I'm actually going off of these candles back here that we kind of settled on in May. Can we bring these fibs down a little bit more? Yeah, sure, but I'm not going to. I think that this is a little bit more accurate, but I don't think so. We're slightly on up here, so let me kind of move this to the top. There we have it. But we're basically right around that resistance zone at $84 itself. As you guys do see, like there it's a little bit more accurate. This is like $85, if you will. So, as we are really kind of just trading at resistance, now would not be the time to buy. I never tell you guys to buy resistance at all. Like, in regards to, like, the volume, we are diminishing. We're at an overstretched point in RSI. So, I would wait for the pullback to happen here. If we do come down, where would the next major, support zone actually be? It would be around like this $71 zone. So if this $71 zone does not hold, expect for us to come back down and retest some support at around like $62 or so. But I'm actually waiting to see if we do get a retest of the $57, almost $60 range on Quant. It is possible. Now, a lot of you say, is the $30 to $40 range possible down here? We slightly touched the $40 range back in June. I wouldn't say like we should be expecting that level to be hit now because like we've had such an incredible move so far. And of course, I have been watching the Q&T Bitcoin chart, for an example, for a little bit of time. And this has done insane moves lately. Like this was the resistance zone going back as far as like February, by the way. And it was also a little bit of a resistance zone that we were trading back in August at. And we just completely took a massive run above that. And, did we just hit resistance? Sure, we did. In fact, this is actually a resistance zone. If we could just move this bottom level here real quick. So if we go off of the tops of these candles, you could see the level that we actually just tested. It's major resistance back here from August, where we did have rejections off of this point until we did break out to the all-time high back in September. So I would definitely watch for a strong rejection here. Again, remember like the Bitcoin pair in regards to RSI is at the most oversold area since the all-time high back in September. So just be cautious here. Do not like FOMO in. Do not think that like this is it, that we're going to this target, that target. Please just be cautious. Do not FOMO at all, especially on Quant. Like to me personally, like it doesn't make sense to FOMO in just yet when we are basically expecting a slight pullback, especially in regards to like the market itself. Now, let's talk about the long-term view here because again, is now the time to buy? To me personally, like I said, no. But let's talk about if you did recently buy. Maybe you are worried. Maybe you're thinking about selling. To me personally, I would not be selling. Again, like it all depends on your viewpoints around Quant. Like, are you long-term? Are you short-term? To me, like Q&T is a very, very good long-term play, not only from like the technology stack alone, but also like the team with what they are building, etc. But we do see here like the next leg up will be glorious on Q&T, and we have this like sort of, the TA that we see on Twitter is a little bit like playing into like the FOMO and like emotional standard. To me, like when we look at this, is it possible to, see a major price target of like roughly $300 plus by 2023, January 2023? Yeah, it's possible. I think that that is actually pretty conservative. And by January of 2024, we're looking at roughly around like a $7,000 to $13,000 Q&T. Is this also, possible? Sure. In fact, I do think that that is possible. And I actually think that that is pretty conservative for that time frame. And the reason why is like I always tell you guys, like I continue to stack Bitcoin under $100. Oh, I meant Q&T. Sorry, I confused the two so much since Q&T will be worth 1 Bitcoin soon. And this is like also why I say like I have accumulated at around the $100 range as well. I have actually bought Q&T at $100. Have I sold that? No. In fact, I never sell Q&T. I don't feel like, selling Q&T. I don't think that I should sell Q&T at all as well, because my target on Q&T has always been like around like roughly the $10,000 range. And I always say like, yeah, it's basically the new Bitcoin. And it's funny because like if we had Bitcoin's market cap, we'd actually be worth more than Bitcoin. Going off of like the $21,000 level that Bitcoin's basically ranging at right now, we'd have a market cap of $281.7 billion. We are almost at like $100 billion less in market cap than Bitcoin at its current level with that. Isn't that insane? Like, that's actually crazy to me. Now, the reason why I actually can see $7,000 is because this is a $100 billion market cap. Remember, a large portion of the top tokens have hit over $100 billion market cap in the last run up. If we're looking at a $7,000 target on Q&T, this is an upside of 82x, almost a $100 billion market cap. Dogecoin, for example. And I don't like to compare like tokens to one another just because of like, market cap perspective wise, if you will. But this is just to kind of give us like a rough estimate on things. Like this was the market cap on Dogecoin at its all-time high, $98.2 billion. Again, I share with you guys utility around these tokens because utility will matter at some point in time. We don't know exactly when, but I do think that Q&T is probably one of the most incredible utility gems out there. And we are looking at this at an upside of roughly 86x, a $7,300 Q&T. Now, at some point in time, I do foresee, this hitting $100 billion market cap flat. That would be at roughly $7,500 Q&T. I think that this is pretty conservative, especially if we're looking at like where Quant is actually, positioned in regards to like the technology stack around it. But let's talk a little bit more details around Quant. So we do see here the call came a few weeks ago at $40 Q&T, now $79. This feels like when I bought Bitcoin and Ethereum a few years ago. Fixed supply, massive utility, and still only ranked 50th in the crypto ranks. I can see top 5 one day, market cap $940 million. Bitcoin is $414 billion, so early. And again, I don't like to compare it to Bitcoin all the time. I've always said like, in regards to like where we are headed, if we are a top 5 token, like that is still an upside of 33x, which is insane to me, almost a $3,000 Q&T. But it's funny, like when we look at this market, it's very, I don't want to say like speculative in the sense of like, all right, what will gain value? Because a lot of this market is just kind of manipulated, I would say. Like it's not even just speculation alone. It's actually also manipulation. And we've talked about this in like my past videos on how manipulated this market actually is. And until like regulations do come into play, like Q&T, will it have an incredible run going forward? Sure, it will. But until like utilities ushered in around like regulations, that's where like Q&T really will see its true value. And until then, I don't believe that Q&T will see like Bitcoin levels. Of course, I'd love to be wrong, and I might actually be wrong on that. And again, it's like a 50-50 here, because we still have to see the day where like Quant is being massively adopted, which I think that we are basically almost on that level. Remember, like we've talked about, where Q&T is actually being held within like the sector around like finance or even healthcare, etc. But I think that this is actually a pretty good way to look at it. So we do see here, I think Q&T multi-ledger token is at the center of this initiative from Japan. And it's the absolute jackpot, bigger than, SIA, Spunta, etc. This is from Son NL11, shout out to him. 4 mega banks, local governments in total, this is greater than 80 Japanese, organizations from all industries and growing. And of course, like I said, like around finance and things like that, like that's a great area to look at. But there's also a ton of other industries that Quant is disrupting at the forefront. And even like, I always kind of laugh at Quant because, at some point in time, we will see Quant being, utilized on a day-to-day basis without people even realizing it because it's such like a back burner token. Like it's not going to be utilized, to settle, assets, settle payments or anything like that. This is just like interconnectivity between legacy systems to see the true value and efficiencies around crypto technology. So again, like Quant won't be seen as a front face value, I would say system or efficiency, but it's more so like a back burner token that is disrupting like the entire system. And again, like this is where we are basically positioned. Like these are all of the major organizations, or just some of them. And we do see Japan is the third biggest economy in the world. These four Japanese mega banks involved are all in the top 15 biggest banks. Other members are giants from industries like telecom, electric company, railway, gaming, finance, SBI, well known by XRP fans, and retail. And of course, here you guys have some of those major banks. These are fairly large assets under management, banks as well. We do see here the consortium plans to launch its own innovative yen-backed digital currency 2023, and since it's so well backed by industry giants / domestic market leaders, it will disrupt the Japanese payment sector heavily, experts say. According to the white paper, DCJPY will use a permission DLT network to turn bank deposits into digital currency utilizing a mint and burn mechanism, something which is exactly done by QNT MLTs also in LAC chain with IDB and BIS/SMB CBDC trials Helvetia. And here you guys have that as well. This is like how does it work. You guys can read this real quick if you guys want to pause the video, but I do not want to pause too much on that. We do see here DCJPY digital currency pilot project as well. Here you guys have the entire underlying technology standard behind this. And we do see down here, furthermore, the paper describes that specific industry use cases could use separate private DLT networks, which means the currency will have to be able to run on multiple DLTs at the same time. MLTs are first of the kind and patent pending. And we do see down here, all CBDCs should be interoperable domestically, which gives commercial banks choice that allows for cross-border transactions. Our multi-ledger token system MLTs removes single DLT limitations with interoperable CBDCs that run on multiple DLTs at the same time. And we do see down here, traditional institutions go cross-chain utilizing a burn and mint mechanism through DLT gateways. The original issuing entity burns the asset on the source DLT and mints a new one on the destination DLT. No such thing as CCIP, Flare, BTB, Layer 0. This is evident in USDC. And here we have at the forefront of everything, we talk about like retail, presumers, electricity, services, everything like around everyday life. It's all going to be interconnected between like the bank, this leads to corporations, individuals, everything. But you still need something to connect this all, to, again, crypto, if you will, like, DLT systems. And that is where, again, Quant plays a pivotal role. We do see down here, so the white paper matches QNT's unique game-changing tech and I don't know what this is, like AFAIK, sorry, QNT is still the only one solution capable of this. Anything more? Well, yes, of course, just the tech is too vague. I briefly, looked into DCJPY, and Gilbert mentioned DCJPY, in its blog about, what QNT describes commercial stablecoins. But I only triggered, or I got really triggered when we came across a private conversation between the IETF ODAP participants, where Gilbert once again stated the importance of ODAP for the likes of DCJPY. After years in QNT, Gilbert Verdian never mentioned stuff multiple times, if not involved. And last year, and shortly prior to the DCJPY announcement, Gilbert, reacted under this post about Tokyo, Japan. Quant will be there soon. Well, he isn't lying. It adds up and beyond massive. I'm so excited about this one too. And yeah, I mean, honestly, like when we really kind of look at this, it's truly something remarkable. Like I've always said, forget about like all of the talks around like where, crypto could be at this point or that point. Just look at where Quant is being positioned. Look at the connections that, Gilbert and the Quant team has been building out in regards to like the banking sector, the financial sector, the, healthcare sector. Like it's so much bigger than what anybody can really kind of assume. And I've always said, this is why Quant will be bigger than Bitcoin. Everybody wants to say like Bitcoin solves this, Bitcoin solves that. Bitcoin is not solving anything. These people are like making up this like, fairy tale land in their mind of like, Bitcoin being massively adopted or this being massively adopted. I want you guys to understand that Bitcoin cannot scale. This is why you see the Lightning Network being adopted in. Bitcoin has served its purpose. It's a speculative store of value. Great. More people that hold it, the more the network, basically gets utilized, and of course the price of Bitcoin, does increase. That's great and all, but again, there's no true utility around that. This is why I've said like QNT at a more scarce value than Bitcoin, with all the utility around it, with all the connections that we do see from Quant's side. It's truly something remarkable. And of course, talking about network effects, yes, QNT will be utilized in every single transaction. Every single individual that will be utilizing the Overledger network for any sort of connection between the legacy system and DLTs, which at some point in time, DLTs will make up for pretty much almost every single dollar being transacted on a day-to-day basis. I see the future of Quant in regards to like the demand around Overledger growing massively, which again means that QNT as a token is going to be, the supply is going to be shocked. Like, we're going to see a supply shock eventually at some point in time, because there's just going to be so many entities holding, QNT, transacting with QNT in regards to like Overledger, that the value of QNT is going to skyrocket. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As is up to you all, have a beautiful day, a beautiful night, wherever you guys are on this beautiful world. It's been Nick. Peace out, guys.